What is up, everybody? It's another live stream here, live stream Saturday. Try to do this once a month. It seems like now. So welcome to this little live stream here. Got a couple topics that I want to talk about. I did submit questions, or you guys submitted questions. A couple of you guys submitted questions as well that we can discuss. So this works really well for Bark and Jack. So I think before we do these live streams now, I'm going to kind of put it out there on Instagram in my stories so that you guys can submit questions in case you can't catch it live. Or if you just have stuff that you want to make sure gets asked, because I'll see those before I see the chat, obviously. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, at Budding Watch Enthusiast is where you'd want to go to do that on the Instagram. Then just make sure you keep an eye on my stories. So let's start there. It's as good a place as any. And as far as timely too, because there's a watch that was asked about that is in current events, as it were. So Watch It Captain, my good friend Johnny, asked me, did you give in to temptation and did you buy a Nodus Duality? So for those of you that did not see it, Nodus, one of my favorite independent brands, just released their new internal dive bezel dive watch, the Duality. Now, I must say that if you run like an independent brand, or if Wester Collin is watching this, I will say this: the rollout of the Duality was one of the best rollouts that I've seen in my short time in collecting watches. And forgive me, I've got a little bit of a cold, a little bit of congestion, so that might interrupt here and there. So the rollout of the Duality was one of the best ones that I've seen because they teased it perfectly, showing they never showed the dial. Like the whole point of the tease is they didn't show the dial until the day that it was released. And what they did do is they showed a lot of like sharp angle shots of the watch on Instagram that were framed really well. But the cool thing that did is it got you to kind of pay attention to and appreciate the aspects of the watch that maybe aren't quite as apparent right away. Because of course, the first thing you're going to focus in on once you see it is the dial. And go from there. So this, you got to see like the case profile, the finishing on the case, the sides of the crowns that are on the watch, the bezel and crystal profile, and that was really awesome. And it got a lot of people excited. The tease, like I said, it didn't last too long, and it only lasted for about a week before they released the watch, and it's available to purchase now. And like I said, the rollout was perfect. And before I move on, if you are watching, make sure you say hi in the chat. Let me know what watch you're wearing today, and then I'll circle back around and say hello to you guys once I'm done talking about the Duality here. So the rollout of the Duality was about as perfect as I've seen so far in watches. So let's talk about why this watch is awesome, and then I'll talk about whether or not I ordered one and why. So first of all, the crowns on this watch is a dual crown, internal bezel dive watch. These are probably the nicest crowns I've seen on a watch. The knurling on them is fantastic. The way they're capped off, like they're loomed, but they also have, I don't know if it's ceramic or what. Or no, is it? I'm not sure. I don't know what the covering is on the crowns, but they look awesome. You have the like I said, the case profile is fantastic. It's slim. It's not going to be too large. I think it comes in at 40 millimeters. The proportions are great. The dial is freaking amazing. Because it's not only they're using both applied markers and a sandwich dial at the same time. I haven't seen anybody do that to my knowledge. And if you have, feel free to point out in the chat or in the comments later companies that have done that before. I've never seen anybody do it before, so that's pretty awesome. The dial is so you get a very cool looking dial, but it still looks clean. There's color on the dial in all the right places because the dial comes in black or white, but there is hints of green on the watch because you have the green triangle on the internal bezel. The text on the dial that says Duality is green. The little hour pips are green. Just really, really, really well done there. The back of the watch, like the case design is super simple, but it looks cool as hell. Like I can't talk about how awesome this watch looks enough from it right now. But I didn't buy one. I didn't buy one for a couple of different reasons. So the first reason is obviously, if you guys were around the last time that we chatted, I talked about that I'm saving right now. I want to save up for a Grand Seiko 9F quartz, and I'm being really steadfast in in saving up for that watch. So I'm trying really hard not to deviate and not to buy other stuff right now, no matter how cool those other pieces are. So that's reason number one. Reason number two, I'm not a huge fan of like compressor style or internal bezel dive watches, because the crowns tend to be a little too large for my liking, or they tend to protrude a little much for my liking. I did get used to it because I think this is going to be similarly proportioned to the Boulder Expedition that I just reviewed. So it might be all right, but I don't tend to go for those watches. The other reason is I'll actually get a chance to check out this watch in the metal next weekend, because Nodus is going to be at District Time in Washington, D.C. So I'm sure they'll have a couple samples of the Duality there with them. So like I said, I'll get to see that in person and handle it. Maybe my opinion will change. Maybe I'll want one right then and there once I get my hands on it. We'll see. But the other reason, too, is because Nodus has another watch coming, or another series of watches coming, I think later this month or later this year. They're sector field and sector dive watches. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what those are going to look like, because I need another dive watch right now, like I need a hole in the head. Like I have so many dive watches already in my collection. I mean, I just bought the EMG Nemo a couple weeks ago. That was a planned but not planned purchase. So like I said, I have a bunch of divers already. I don't have a lot of field watches. I sold my Damasco DS30 to help save up for the Grand Seiko. So aside from that, I have my Hamilton khaki field, which I can't ever imagine getting rid of, and then I have the Seiko, the SNK, the Seiko 5, but that's not really a field watch either. That's almost like a mini pilot's watch, essentially. So much more interested probably in the field watch they have coming. So I might wait and see what that's going to look like. That one could get me to jump. If that comes out and it looks awesome, that one might get me a jump. But yeah, the Duality looks freaking awesome. So they have it up for pre-order right now. It's $600. I think it ships out at the end of the month. If you wait till November 1st, the price is going to go up to $700. And look, if it's anything near the quality, or even anywhere near as good as the Nodus Avalon is, because they're in a similar price bracket, then this is going to be an awesome watch. So if you like this style of diver, this should be one of the ones. And the other cool thing too, even though it's an internal bezel, the dive bezel comes in either a like dive time configuration, or you can get the 12-hour configuration as well. So you can have it either way. Obviously, I would say opt for the 12-hour because it's far more useful to most people than a dive timer is going to be on these watches nowadays. Yeah, Nodus Duality, Johnny, I did not buy one. Maybe I'll just wait till you sell yours, because Johnny has a bad habit of buying Nodus watches and then flipping them later on when he wants to fund something else. So maybe I'll buy Johnny's when he's done with his. We'll see about that. So let me circle back around again. If you guys are watching, say hello in the chat. Let me know what is on your wrist today. Let me know what you're wearing. I'm wearing the NTH Renegade. Yes, on the bracelet. I don't know why. I just felt the mood. I've had it on the bracelet for about a week now. It's probably not gonna be on the bracelet much longer, because if you guys watch my review of this watch, you know that I'm not a huge fan of the bracelet of this watch, but for whatever reason, it kind of struck me to put it on there. And I've had it on there for a couple days, but I'm not, I'm obviously not feeling it because it's not my favorite thing in the entire world. Craig says hi in the chat. What is up, Craig? Got the winter beard going. I'm actually growing this out right now. So I've never grown out my beard and mustache before. I've always kept it really, really trimmed in and really restrained. So this has been going now for last time I trimmed it was probably 5 weeks ago, give or take. So this is the 5-week beard, I guess 5-week beard and mustache combination. So I think it's coming along pretty well. it's been interesting. I've learned much more about like men's hair and beard care and mustache care than I ever thought that I would know in the in this past month or so, because apparently to maintain this is quite a bit of work if you want to do it right. So I've been investing in a lot of that product and kind of messing with that so far. Craig, is it past the itchy phase? Yeah, it's definitely past the itchy phase. Plus, I use beard oil, so that definitely helps cut that down, especially down in the undergrowth. Because that's the other problem too, is I was trimming. I usually trim my beard a lot higher on my neckline than it is right now. So now it's coming down a little bit more. So that was a little rough. But again, if you use beard oil every day, it's no problem. My hair is also way longer than it's ever been either. Because I've been enjoying having that a little bit of a longer length. So like I said, we're gonna see how that goes. My hair doesn't grow long; it grows out. So I've been having to tame that in. But I think this will last past the winter. But again, we'll have to see how it goes. It depends on how the beard comes in, and the way that works. So Craig says he's wearing his Steinhardt Pepsi, but thinking about selling it and getting a C65 Pepsi or a Squale Pepsi. Look, man, you know my thoughts on the Christopher Ward C65 GMT. That watch, like I said, for $1,000, find me a better GMT. I doubt you'll be able to, because that watch is awesome. I would highly recommend checking that one out for sure, because I know you won't be disappointed. He also says, thanks for influencing my purchase of the Renegade. Yeah, it's funny. I've had a couple people tell me that my review helped kind of tip them over the edge as far as that goes, with getting the Renegade. This to me, like the NTH Renegade specifically, the Nakin Renegade, is one of the best watches in their line, but it's the one that most people don't know about that much. If for some reason, like of the Nakin series, the Renegade is kind of like the redheaded stepchild, and I don't know why, because I think it's the coolest dial of all the ones they offer. I do like the Nakin Blue as well, because I love the shade of blue that they use, but for me the Renegade is like the absolute best, and everyone that has a Renegade that I've talked to absolutely adores it. Like there's no like buyer's remorse or kind of wish that they went the other way. Because I think Wing Yip on a lot of the microgram groups on Facebook, and he has a YouTube channel as well, also has one and loves his as well. Aaron, hello, man. Wearing the Bulova 1980s concept day date today. Very cool. We're going to talk about a Bulova watch later on, based on another question that somebody sent in for this live chat. Kevin Hamilton Jazzmaster up here in Canada. What is up, man? I hope you are enjoying the hockey as I am. Hockey season is back. The Caps are 2-0. Home opener is a little bit later tonight, so I'm looking forward to watching that when I'm done here. Craig says that your wife has a C65. Oh, just steal hers then. You don't need to buy your own C65. You can just take hers from her. Now, I will tell you, with the Squale Pepsi, which I'm assuming is a 1545, if I'm not mistaken. I like that Squale watch, but it definitely waned. My enjoyment of that watch waned over time. I mean, I eventually sold it last year, just because I wasn't really wearing it. I really think that their like the stuff above that, like the 1521, for example, or like the Squale Maddox, while they're very different watches, I think that they're of a much better quality than the 1545 line. The 1545 line is fine. Don't get me wrong, but I almost would prefer a Steinhardt, I think, over a Squale. I think you're assured of more consistent quality with Squale, but I think the Steinhardt, when they're good, are better, just a shade, than the Squale watches. So, oh, it's the bracelet, dude. Let me actually, I'm gonna turn around and grab this real quick. So look at the C65. When I went on a work trip about a month or so ago, I threw this on the Christopher Ward oak leather strap. I don't know if this watch is ever going to leave this strap. Like as much as I love the Christopher Ward bracelets, because their bracelets are really, really good. The way this watch looks on this strap. Now, to be fair, the strap is older than the watch, because this is what came on my original C65 when I bought it over a year ago at this point. So it's worn in. It's patinaed a little bit, so it's a little bit more aged than like the brand new version would be. But I think that this pairing is bar none the best pairing for this watch. Like it is spectacular because it doesn't look like a regular dive watch, so that it doesn't look odd on a more like formal looking leather strap like this is. So that would be my recommendation: is get this strap from Christopher Ward if they still have it, and then steal her watch and just pop this strap on it. Wear it on leather because again, this strap looks amazing. Or find a leather strap that is of a similar shade, I guess, because I haven't taken that off in the months since I threw it on there. So if you guys have questions in the chat, if there's stuff that you guys want me to talk about or want to talk about, definitely hit it up in the chat below. While you guys are thinking of some questions or coming up with some stuff, I want to talk about the other watch that I really wanted to talk about this week, and that is that new James Bond Omega Seamaster that they released, or that they teased. I guess they did release it actually, that they released last week. Now listen, you guys can probably tell if I duck my head, big James Bond fan. If you guys are longtime followers of the channel, you guys know this as well. Now, the James Bond Seamasters, typically, I'm not the biggest fan of. Just because, first of all, the Seamaster Professional is not my favorite watch in the entire world. It's a little bulky, a little big for what I typically like out of a diver. And the watches that they've come out with have been a little, the James Bond Special Editions have been a little gaudy. The one that I like the most, the one that I still think is the best, is the Spectre Edition Seamaster that was modeled. It looks more like the old Seamaster 300s from back when. That one I think is the best one they've done. I think that's still the best one they've done. But this new one that they released that is commemorating the 50th anniversary of On Her Majesty's Secret Service. By the way, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, casual Bond fans might not know, one of the best James Bond movies. And I know that might be hard to believe. If you've only watched it once or twice, you might disagree with me, but I'm telling you, don't sleep on Her Majesty's Secret Service. It is far better than it gets credit for. So they released this 50th anniversary watch based on Her Majesty's Secret Service. And this watch is like the bar that I would measure all other special edition watches against, because this thing is incredible. So let's talk about some of the features that this watch has. So it's your typically sized Seamaster Pro. The dial has the James Bond gun barrel etched on the dial. Craig says he's not a George Lazenby fan. You don't have to be. He's easily one of the weakest parts of that movie, but everything else in that movie works. And he manages to kind of get carried along for the ride, basically. Like he definitely is not a great part of the movie, but he doesn't ruin it either. I'm not a huge Lazenby fan either, but he's fine. Everyone else elevates him in that film. We got to get back to the watch. So, like I said, it's got the James Bond gun barrel etched on the dial, which you've already sold me. You already have one of the coolest looking dials that I've seen on a watch, period. The date window on the 7, it's in the font style of the James Bond 007 logo. If I own this watch, I would make sure that the date window is always on the 7. I don't care what day it is, because that would be amazing. The double batons at the 12 o'clock point have a reference to the James Bond family crest, which is relevant to that movie that it's in. It is individually numbered on the side. It has like a gold, like a little gold plate that's screwed on there that tells you what number it is. Apparently they're making 7007, of course, 007 logo on the side there as well. Fantastic. Comes on a stainless steel bracelet, comes with a rubber strap as well. And then when you put lume on the watch, on the 10 o'clock pip, there is just a little 50 that, again, to commemorate the anniversary of this film that is now 50 years old. This watch is incredible. Comes with the caliber 8800 movement, which of course is going to be the Omega coaxial escapement, all that good jazz that you would expect. And it's only 42 millimeters. Some of the Seamaster Pros are a little bit bigger. I think some of those clock in at like 45. So this one's a little bit more restrained as well. I was talking, so when they released this, I commented on 10 and 2's Instagram feed, and they made the comment, that I really enjoy this watch. They made the comment that this watch is perfect for people like me that are mega fans of the James Bond franchise. And that is exactly correct. This watch, if you are a big James Bond fan, is a great love letter to Bond fans. I think this is one of the best special editions they've ever done. The only thing that puts me off about this watch is the price. It is 6,450 Swiss francs, which translates to around the same amount of dollars American. And for those of you that don't know how that compares to the price of a regular Speedmaster Professional, it comes in at around $3,000 more than a regular Seamaster Pro would cost. Now, obviously, it's a limited edition. Obviously, you're not buying this because you want. I keep saying Speedmaster. You're not buying this because you want an Omega Seamaster. You're buying this because you want this Omega Seamaster. So I understand there being an upcharge. You don't need to upcharge it that much, though. I don't think. Especially when you're making 7,000 of these. That's the only thing that's a bummer about watches like this. So this is going to be sought after by people who collect Seamasters, maybe a Bond fan as well, maybe an overlap there. But for folks like me, and to be clear, like if I had, I don't have the money to buy this watch, even if it did cost the same amount of money as a regular Seamaster did. But for people like me, this puts it at a level that's kind of unobtainable, having that little bit of extra cost in there. And again, they're not marketing it towards me because I'm not the Omega clientele by any stretch of the imagination. But I don't know. It just would be cool to not see as much price gouging. And Omega's not the only one to do it. By the way, Seiko just released their 50th anniversary chronographs, which they are charging gobs of money for. Like a Seiko Presage chronograph, the special edition is like $60 or like $6,000 by itself. So they're far from the only people doing it. But that's the only thing that puts a little bit of a damper on the watch for me, is that it's priced in a way that I think is a little outside of the norm. But again, this watch is awesome looking. It's a shame the value of the watch is probably only going to go up, because that's kind of how it goes with these James Bond special editions. I think this one's going to be really popular because, again, the aside from the dial, the stuff that makes it a special edition is not really in your face as much as some of the other Bond watches that are out there. But yeah, it's fantastic. Also can withstand magnetic fields of up to 15,000 Gauss as well. So, the electromagnetism, great watch. And yet another of the special editions that seem to be falling from the sky every single week. Me and Ricardo from Watch With Us have been joking that we should probably just do like a standing Watch With Us podcast every Tuesday, because it seems like every Tuesday somebody's releasing a new special edition of some watch that's coming out there. So it's unrelenting. It's every single week. So again, guys, if you have questions, topics you want me to talk about, let me know in the chat below. Also, watching, you haven't said hello yet, head down to the chat, say hello. Let me know what's on your wrist today. I would love to hear it. We have another question that came in from Ricky Doo on Instagram. He says, the moon's haunted. Which watch helps the best? So for those of you that don't understand that reference, I'm a big Destiny 2 fan. So like I said, you can see James Bond above my head. You can see Destiny above my left shoulder behind me. So I'm a huge Destiny fan. Destiny just released their newest expansion called Shadowkeep. I've been playing it all week on PS4. Having a really good time with it. One of the reasons that let me actually take a sip here real quick. One of the reasons that he talks about the moon is because in this new expansion, the moon is kind of haunted with these enemy creatures. I'm not going to go deep into Destiny lore with you guys. But which watch would be best to the moon? Which watch would help you the most on the moon? We've been talking about Omega, so it seems it's right there to say an Omega Speedmaster would be very helpful. But you guys know me; I like to talk about the more affordable watches instead of that. So instead of the Omega Speedmaster, my recommendation would be the Bulova Lunar Pilot, a watch that I've reviewed on the channel before. It is a moon watch. It has been to the moon. So it has the bona fides, or at least the original model of that watch went to the moon. So it has the bona fides of being a moon watch. But just a bit more, even more reliable than an Omega Speedmaster would be, because you have that high accuracy quartz movement that is inside that Bulova Lunar Pilot that's going at that price point. So fantastic watch. I found it a little too large for my liking. That's one of the only reasons I did not keep that watch when I owned it back in the day. But a great watch, one that's a great value. You can usually find them on the pre-owned market for around $300. And again, steal of a deal, considering the features that watch comes with. So if I were going to the moon, I would probably have a Lunar Pilot with me at some point. So that is the answer to that question, to deal with the haunted moon, because you need it to time out those public events and the strikes and those raids. So very important watch. The chronograph's a good thing to bring with you for that. Aaron asks, what are your deal breakers for a watch in any price range? It's funny you asked that question. I actually did a whole video on my deal breakers, the things that I absolutely hate that will prevent me from buying a watch in most cases. So you should definitely go back and check that out. I don't think that I've softened on my stance on any of those deal breakers, because I'm trying to remember what they were. So first of all, I'm a big anti-Cyclops guy. I hate Cyclops date magnifiers. I think they make the dial, they make a watch look ugly. They look like an unseemly little mess on your dial. The only company whose date magnifiers I generally don't mind as much is Seiko's, because they tend not to be very thick. They tend to be a little less obtrusive and to not look as much of an eyesore as every other date magnifier that you see out there. So if a watch has a date magnifier on it of some kind, it had better be really damn good in every other facet, or actually amazing in every other facet to make me look past that. But for the most part, I'm not going to buy a watch with a Cyclops on it. Another big one that drives me up the wall is any watch movement in a watch that costs like anything over like $300 that has a automatic movement that doesn't have hacking or hand winding in it. When the Seiko NH35 is a movement that exists in the more affordable marketplace, to me there is no excuse for putting a mechanical movement in your watch that doesn't have hacking or hand winding. And that's a dumb thing, because like I said, automatic is probably more important at the end of the day. But it's just obnoxious to me that you wouldn't have those additional features. So the biggest culprit, I think, is the Miyota. Is it the 821 movement? I think. I know Laco. Like the only reason that I never bought like one of the Laco affordable Fliegers is for that very reason, because I cannot stand that, having a watch that costs that much that has a non-hacking, non-hand wind movement. It's one of just the little things that bothers me to no end. So those are two of them. Like I said, I think I talked about 4 in the video. So I would definitely encourage you to look back and seek that one out. I think I made that video like a year ago, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to think if I have any more that have come up since then, because I'm I'm drawing a blank now on that one. Bracelets that don't have micro adjustments. That is as bad as it's not quite a deal breaker, because the Grand Seiko that I eventually buy is probably going to have a bracelet that doesn't have a micro adjustment on it. Like the ones with the tiny square clasps are usually the ones that you see that do this. But I've got a big wrist. My wrist loves to change shape during the day, especially on really hot days. So I really like the ratcheting clasp is my favorite, but if you're not going to have that, at least let me, a couple micro adjustment pins. Because otherwise you have a really difficult time getting that perfect fit when you have to do it with links alone. Plus you can't change it during the day. And that's no good as well. So those are a couple. But yeah, go back and check out that video later on. So guys, again, if you have any questions, let me know. If not, we've gone a half an hour already, believe it or not, which I have trouble believing. So if you guys don't have anything else, we'll wrap it up soon. While you guys are thinking, if you have any more questions, I will tell you next weekend on Saturday, I will be down in Washington, D.C. at the District Time Show, which is going to be right near the Capital One Arena down there. It's a free event. You guys should check it out. If you've never been, it's a small watch fair that's hosted by Lauren Scarba, who is the writer on the Time Bum blog. And it's actually a really cool show because there's a lot of, I think last year there was like, I want to say 30 different micro brands there. I think this year there's even more. It's a great show because it's not incredibly overcrowded. So you get a little bit more time to check out some of the watches, a little bit more one-on-one time with the different brand owners that are there. It's a lot more low key. So it's a really cool event. Again, it's happening Saturday and Sunday next weekend. If you live in the Mid-Atlantic area, Pennsylvania, Maryland, DC, Virginia, West Virginia, basically if you're within a couple hours drive of DC, I would highly recommend you coming down, checking it out for one of the 2 days. Craig said, are you doing wind up in New York at the end of the month? Unfortunately, no, I can't this year. I can't miss work that weekend. I have a big event going on at work the weekend that wind up is happening. So unfortunately, I won't be able to make it down to Chelsea Market this year, which sucks because I really had a good time at wind up last year, and I would definitely love to go back again. And New York City is not a far drive for me whatsoever to go to a watch fair. Plus, it would be cool to be able to get up there and hang out with the Watch for This guys because they all live in New York as well, and I don't get to go up there that frequently. But unfortunately, like I said, work commitment, can't swing it this year. Perhaps next year we'll be able to go up there again. But I will say, if you are a micro brand enthusiast, I would almost say District Time smidge better than Wind Up was last year. And it's only because Wind Up is so packed with people. Like there's so many people that go to Wind Up because of where it's located and a lot of the different brands that are there. That was the only reason that I thought District Time might have been a hair better. But both shows were great, and both shows, if you're a watch enthusiast, would be well worth your time to check out. So that is it, guys. Thank you for those of you that are in the chat, especially Craig, Kevin, and Aaron, who delivered some questions during the chat today. If you guys are going to be down in District Time, whether you're watching this live now or whether you watch it later on YouTube, feel free to say hi. Don't worry if I look busy taking pictures and shooting video and stuff like that, because it's not the end of the world. I would love to say hey, and check out and see what you have on that day. But yeah, that is it for this live stream. Thank you guys very much again. If you don't follow me on Instagram, make sure you go to @buddingwatchenthusiast. Give me a follow there. What I'm going to start doing before I do these live streams is I'm going to, in my Instagram story the day before, I'm going to post up a post that you guys can ask me questions. So just in case you're not going to be able to watch the stream live, you still might be able to get your question in and I can answer it, or we can talk about it during this live stream, which I'm trying to do pretty much once a month here for you guys. We're finding a pretty good steady rate doing them once a month. So yeah, that is it. Thank you guys in the chat for being here live. See you guys at District Time next weekend if you're going to be there, and take it easy.